I want to welcome you to this week's Wednesday Word of Encouragement. And I want to encourage you with a verse from Psalm 121. Psalm 121:2 says, "My help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth." You know, when we find ourselves in a situation where we wonder how we're going to make it, the difficult situations that we face, trouble that we see on the horizon, when life begins to throw us curveballs, we ask ourselves, where's my help going to come from? Well, our help comes from the Lord. And this verse tells us what the Lord's credentials are. He is the maker of heaven and earth. If he's the maker of heaven and earth, don't you think he can handle any difficulties that may come in all of his creation? Found it interesting as I was doing a little bit of a study on this psalm, and it's a part of the Psalms of Ascent. And all of the Jewish people would sing these psalms as they traveled up to Jerusalem for the great feasts and festivals of the Jewish people. 3 times a year, they were supposed to travel to Jerusalem to worship God. And there was a group of psalms that they would sing and they would recite as they were going up to Jerusalem to worship and as they were returning home. And this is one of the Psalm of Ascent. And isn't that a wonderful thing for us to constantly remind ourselves of? That when we begin to wonder, where's my help going to come from? Well, our help comes from the Lord, and he is the maker of the heaven and earth. It's sometimes verse 1 of Psalm 121 says that I look to the hills, from where does my help come from? And, the Jewish people were susceptible to the temptation of building altars to false gods on the hills, on the high places. And the psalmist in this Psalm 121, this thing to be reminded of every time we go up to Jerusalem to worship, is this point. If I'm guilty of looking to false gods for my help, then I need to remember where my help comes from. My help doesn't come from the high hills, the false gods of this world. My help comes from the Lord. And his credentials are he's the maker of heaven and earth. Be encouraged when you know where your help comes from. It comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. God bless you and be encouraged.